guys, you're listening to ChickFlicks with me, your host, alexisoteng. I'm the chick who watches TV shows and flicks and tells you whether they're worth a binge or a skip. All right, guys, so I'm back with a new episode, and today I'm going to be reviewing Saturday Night. And honestly, I'm so excited for this review. This is a movie I've been anticipating to watch for a long time. So as soon as it hit theaters, I was there. Not premiere night, but like I was there as soon as it hit my local theaters, watched it. I have a lot to say, so I'm not gonna make this intro too long. Let's jump right into the review with our general overview. All right, let's start with a synopsis. At 11:30 p.m. on October 11th, 1975, a ferocious troupe of young comedians and writers changed television and culture forever. Directed by Jason Reitman and written by Gil Kenan and Reitman, Saturday Night is based on the true story of what happened behind the scenes in the 90 minutes leading up to the first broadcast of Saturday Night Live. Full of humor, chaos, and the magic of a revolution that almost wasn't, we count down the minutes in real time until we hear those famous words. All right, so this film, as the synopsis stated, is directed by Jason Reitman. You might be familiar with him for his work Juno. He directed that. He's also directed some of the new Ghostbusters movies, Ghostbusters Afterlife, and I think he co-directed Ghostbusters Frozen Empire with Gil Kenan, who also wrote the screenplay with him for Saturday Night. He's done Monsters House, Ghostbusters, and they've worked a lot on projects together. So when it comes to this film, I feel like for me, Saturday Night is like a staple in pop culture. And this was a really ambitious project, especially when you see like the cast. The lineup goes crazy. Just to name a few: Dylan O'Brien, Rachel Sennott, Lamorne Morris, Finn Wolfhard, William Dafoe, J.K. Simmons. Like, these are a lot of like rising stars and like hot Hollywood actors in this cast. And a lot of them have been booked and busy. I mean, William Dafoe, he's been in Poor Things. Know him from Spider-Man. He was just in Beetlejuice, and he will be in Nosferatu. Lamorne Morris, he just won a Primetime Emmy for Fargo, okay? Rachel Sennott, on top of all of the movies she's done in this past year, she's also right now producing her own show with HBO. Excited for that. And y'all know I have a special place in my heart for my forever white boy of my life, Dylan O'Brien. Been with him since Teen Wolf. Love that man. Y'all don't love him like I love him. So I was immediately like intrigued on wanting to see this film, and you know, seeing the trailer, seeing how chaotic the trailer was and how much they were going to be like throwing at us, I wasn't worried, but I was definitely like, this could either be so good or it could go so wrong so quick. But apparently for critics on the tomato meter, it's certified fresh with an 80% score, and for audiences, it's 86%. So people are loving this film, but you guys know that the review that matters the most is mine, or at least in the context of this show. So let's get into my positives. Let's start off by talking about the look of this film. First of all, it was shot on 16mm, which I love. I love films that are shot on film. It's just so beautiful. It just enhances the look. And 16mm is typically reserved for like non-theatrical filmmaking or like low budget motion pictures, but I think it just works in this instance. It doesn't, to me, give off like low budget. I think it just enhances the color and the look of the movie, as well as the fact that like we're in the 1970s, and I feel like it just fit with that time period. Like, I loved watching this film just for the aesthetic alone, how it looked on film. It was gorgeous. I also think that when it comes to the costume, hair, makeup, set design, knocked it out of the park, okay? The actors, like who they're supposed to be portraying their real life counterpart to in the SNL universe, oh my God, it's like dead on. Like, they nailed it. The ones that really get me is Corey. He's portraying Chevy Chase. And when I tell you, that is a young Chevy Chase. You can't convince me otherwise. You literally cannot convince me otherwise that is not him. They knocked it out of the fucking park, okay? I loved how everyone was styled. It didn't feel like they were parodying it. It feels like a like adaptation of their real life counterparts. Like it wasn't too much, but it wasn't like they didn't try. It was the perfect amount. I loved it. And then the cinematography, all right? It was done by Eric Stilberg. He was the director of photography. He's done 500 Days of Summer. He's worked with Jason Reitman on Ghostbusters, on Juno. He also has DP'd a couple episodes for Ahsoka. My gosh, the one takes and the one shots in this film, they are staged and blocked in a way that it's very chaotic. We're moving, we're following them throughout the studio, and yet it flows well. I don't feel like my eyes are constantly like rushing. It feels like I'm getting all the information I need, as well as like following them. I feel like I'm right there with them 90 minutes before it's time to go live. So those were just done amazingly. And it honestly parallels the fact that this film, a common thread, or I guess the theme, is that like it's chaotic and yet it works perfectly. It flows seamlessly. It's like this film is like a beautiful web that they have weaved intricately to have so many things going on at once, and yet it all works and you don't feel like overwhelmed. And I feel like part of that is how they did these one shots. They flow. They don't feel too fast paced or we're missing stuff. Like we're getting everything we need and we're hitting like so many elements. I was like, I never was taken out of the film. I never felt for a moment like, whoa, this is too much. I was following along, which sometimes I miss things. Like I'm a little slow at processing. So this could have easily like worked against them, especially when you're talking about this film. I guess the demographic would be like, you know, young adults, pop culture enthusiasts, like comedy lovers, right? I feel like that's a very broad audience. That could be a lot of different ages coming to see this film. Yet I feel like anybody, no matter what age you are, you're still gonna be able to like process and like see everything that's happening and not feel bombarded. And that's honestly a testimony to the great work that's being done here. There is a lot of detail that the information that we have to absorb. And I feel like the cinematography with the writing sets a pace that's a fast tempo. Like we're off the ground running at the start. And yet they have these perfect moments of stillness that comes in so naturally, where things slow down and we finally get to like process everything. And yet we then hit off ready to go again. And it doesn't feel like we're being rushed or things are slowing down like awkwardly out of nowhere. It just all flows well. And that's hard to do, okay? Because there are so many plot points and characters you have to keep up with. This could be a very overwhelming story, but it's told in a linear fashion that allows us time to like see every point established and resolved before we hear that live from New York, okay? That is such incredible feat. It's hard to have that many characters, which there's like 30 plus named roles here. 30 plus. 30, you know, you have 30. And nobody really kind of feels like an afterthought. There is one or two characters who I feel like do maybe not hit the mark as well as establishing themselves and impacting the film overall as all the other characters do. But I just want to say, I feel like everybody who gets that moment to camera to like make their mark, for the most parts, nails it. And they leave a impression on the audience, whether it was small or big. And yeah, I mean, if we're along the lines of writing, the comedy here, it hits. It's that satire and flair and subtleness that we know and love from SNL, okay? There are like so many great comedic moments here. This cast, they nailed it. And I mean, are we surprised? Are we surprised? No. We're talking about a cast. Let's run it down. First of all, we have Gabriel LaBelle. You might know him from Fabelmans. He's playing Lord Michaels, the man who's kind of really helping tell the story, the creator of SNL. Rachel Sennott as Rosie Schuster. You know from Bodies, this bitch has great comedic timing, as well as Bottoms. Her and Ayo Edebiri, like, I cannot wait for them to be like the it comedy female duo of this generation. They are working their way into that placeholder, and I'm totally fine with that. Dylan O'Brien as Dan Aykroyd. I mean, I'm not surprised that he knocked it out of the park. That's my man, of course. But really, all of these characters, all of these actors, they did amazing. Like, there's only like one or two who I feel like they didn't do bad. I just don't feel like I know if the impact that they really are leaving within this film, what the impression I was supposed to get from them was. Lamorne Morris, like Nicholas Braun playing two people. This is funny because I low key, when I first saw him, he was Andy Kaufman. And then I saw him again as Jim Henson, and I started gaslighting myself, being like, oh, I guess whoever's playing Andy Kaufman isn't Nicholas Braun. I must have just thought it looked like him. And then I see Andy Kaufman, and I'm like, wait, okay, is he actually playing Jim Henson, or did I mistake him for whoever's playing that character? And then I was like, no, he's playing two. That's a hard feat. And they were both distinct in their own ways. And I mean, I love Nicholas Braun from Succession, and you know, if you're a real OG like that, you know him from Minutemen. I'm so happy to see him like getting roles in Hollywood. I'm gonna go on a little Nicholas Braun spiel. He's been putting in the work, and to see him like finally like reaping the benefits, getting notoriety, that he is a very versatile, he can do drama, he can do comedy. I'm here for, okay? William Dafoe and J.K. Simmons. J.K. Simmons was not in this film a lot, and yet he made one of the biggest impressions. His scene is hard to miss, and he absolutely knocks it out of the fucking park, okay? William Dafoe, nobody should be surprised that this man did amazing, okay? He can do comedy. He can do drama. He can do the dramatics, the flair, camp. He's amazing in my eyes. He really is one of the best actors in Hollywood. So, you know, there's so many great things I can say about this. Like, as you've seen, I've gone on this whole spiel talking about my positives, what I loved, the things in this film that I just have to highlight and say exceptionally well. But let's get into our negatives, because as hard as it seems to believe, my brain is malfunctioning. Whatever. I have negatives despite how much I've been saying and like glowing about this film. When it comes to my negatives, there's only a couple, okay? First of all, there are like two plot lines. I don't want to call them plot holes because I don't think they're plot holes, but there's two plot lines that I feel like didn't hit the way I think they meant it to. I just don't feel like it was, I don't want to say it wasn't well fleshed out, because I feel like all of the work they did leading up to the resolution was great, but then the way it resolved, I kind of was confused. The first was Lorraine Newman, who's played by Emily Fair. It's like hinted at that there's kind of like a flirtation, little relationship going on with Dan Aykroyd in the film, and there's a lot of like moments we see that establish that. And we see Lorraine get a little bit jealous as Aykroyd also has a little bit of a relationship going on with Rosie Schuster. And I feel like it was building up to something, and I feel like it resolves when they practice the skit between Lorraine and Dan, where he's wearing these short shorts. Dylan O'Brien looked amazing in them shorts. I feel like that's where the resolution happens for that little plot line. I can't tell though. Like, it kind of I'm a little unsatisfied if that really is the resolution. I feel like it's not as addressed as much as it needs to be. But I feel like that might just be a me thing. Like, I missed something, or I'm not connecting the dots. I really don't think that's to the fault of the writers or how they built it up. Same thing with the second plot line. It's between Rosie Schuster and Lorne Michaels. They are married, and one of the plot points we see is they're deciding how they want to credit her for the show, not like in her title, but like how they're going to put her name. Is she going by Rosie Schuster or Rosie Michaels? And the way that they were building towards it, I thought she was going to pick Rosie Michaels. Like, they had one more conversation before she has to decide. And it seemed like she was going towards doing Michael's. And then they're there and they ask her and she goes and looks at him and goes, Rosie Schuster, and he agrees. So I was just a little like taken aback because I felt like the way they had been building it, it would have been the latter. But again, I might have missed something or been reading that wrong. So I'm not gonna hold, like, I really don't feel like they're plot holes. I think it's just how I interpreted it. It just didn't feel resolved in the way it should have for me. For the other viewers, I feel like maybe y'all will understand and be like, no, that makes perfect sense to me. That's what I thought the outcome was gonna be like. Remember how I said there's like one or two actors who, like, do they do a good job? Yes, but do I feel like they kind of get lost in the sauce of all these amazing actors? Yes. And unfortunately, it would be Kaya Gerber for me. She plays Jacqueline Carlin, who is Chevy Chase's fiance at the time. She's in a couple of scenes and she's not bad. But again, when you're working with some of these giants, these scene stealers, you got to be at a 10. You got to be bringing your A game. And I feel like I can't think of honestly anybody else who falls, because even Finn Wolfhard, he doesn't have like a big role. He's like credited as an NBC page, but yet I feel like he does enough for me to remember. Like, I remember that he's in this film. I sometimes forget that Kaya Gerber is in this film. But again, I don't think that's the fault of her, and I don't think that she did a bad job. I just think it's hard to showcase when you have 30 plus like named rolled actors in here, all competing to like leave the best mark. It's a dogfight, and you got to bring your A game. I also wish that the time, so we're supposed to be watching this 90 minutes from them going live. I wish the time that was passing in real life, like the time that's passing in me watching this film, correlated to the time that's passing in the film. Because we get all these time cards like throughout this film. Like we start at 10 o'clock. Then we get like 10:15, 10:35, 11:30, 11:20, right? I wish when those time cards appeared, that much time had actually passed, but sometimes it doesn't add up. And I think this film is an hour 27, which is, let me think, that's 60 plus 27. I can't do quick math right now. I think that's like 87. Forgive me if I'm wrong. But I wish the film was like 95 minutes long, because that would have been perfect. The actual 90 minutes, we watch majority of the 90 minutes before they premiere, and then the 4 minutes of the first skit that we get to see. 4-5 minutes of the first skit that we get to see. Until we hear live from New York, right? That would have been amazing to me, but that's more of like just a stylistic critique rather than like there's something wrong. Like, I feel like this was done wrong or this is not good. I just feel like that would have been cool, but that's just me. And then the only thing I will say that I guess is a little bit of an anchor, like a blemish in the writing, is that all of these problems are occurring 90 minutes before they go live. And I feel like at some point, us as an audience member have got to go, there's no way this happens. It says it's based off of like what actually happened that night, okay? But I heard, and after doing some research, that like they're not lying. These things did happen, but did they happen in those 90 minutes? No, some of the problems they encountered happened in the days leading up to the live show. But of course, this is the movies. They're going to fudge the timelines a little bit to fit the premise and what they're trying to do. So I get that, but like with the amount of problems that start occurring, I feel like at some point, every audience member is gonna sit there and be like, now did that really happen 90 minutes? And that's the only thing that sometimes takes me out of the film and the magic that's happened in front of me. But yeah, those are my only like critiques and negatives. And they're not really negatives, they're more of like, I would have done this, stylistic choices, just pointing out maybe this person didn't shine as much as the other people did. So I feel like you guys know where I'm going with my overall review, but let me say it. Don't start going ahead. Let's get into my final thoughts. All right, guys. I have to say and admit that while I call myself a pop culture consultant, connoisseur, encyclopedia of everything pop culture, I will say if there's one section that I am not as knowledgeable on that I should be, it's SNL. Growing up, I did love SNL, but I didn't watch it like on the television or when it was like premiering. I would watch the skits on YouTube, and there are so many that I love, but to name a few of my favorite skits that I like continually go back to, the Beyonce Jay-Z when they're welcoming Blue Ivy with Maya Rudolph and Jay Farrell, fucking love that. Maya Rudolph is literally like, I love her on SNL, and I hope they continue to bring her back. I hope Kamala gets elected for like 8 years so that she has a job of continually like acting and impersonating Kamala. Literally, because I just love Maya Rudolph. I love any excuse to see Maya Rudolph on SNL. She kills it. Okay. Another one that I love, Best Buy firing. Love that one, especially the one with, that's the one with Josh Hutcherson when he was hosting. That is a good one. And then all of the iterations of High School Theater Show. It is so accurate, it's scary, and it's so funny. I love that little skits, those skits. But yeah, SNL is a section of pop culture where I am not the most well versed in, but this film, the way they do it, I feel like whether you are a longtime lover of SNL or somebody who knows nothing, you will enjoy this film and you will understand everything that's happening. I didn't need to do a lot of background. I didn't do any really background research going into the film. After I did a lot of research to like prepare myself for this review, but I purposely did that because I wanted to see, is a common viewer who may not be like familiar with SNL and all of its histories and amazing things it's done, be able to sit here and enjoy the film. And I'll admit, I don't really think that's the purpose of this film. I really feel like the film is for those of us who have a deep love and respect for SNL. But I have to give it props. I feel like if you know nothing, you will be able to sit down in this theater and enjoy the film and not constantly be like, well, I don't get it. I don't get that. Like, I don't know who that's supposed to be. You don't need to know who these characters are. You will still enjoy the film. So I feel like y'all know where I'm going with this. I didn't have that many negatives and critiques to give. I fucking love this film. This was a fun time. I love, you know, the Oscar baiting dramas, the deep psychological thrillers and films that make me think. But I also love a movie that's a good fucking time, and this is one. Like, I enjoyed it. I literally, after the film ended, I kind of wanted to watch it again to see what else I could pick up on, if there was things that I missed, to hear some of these jokes again and be like, were they as funny as I thought? Because I was laughing. Like, the theater, it wasn't packed. I will say this film it cost them like $25 to $30 million to make. It's right now at the box office only made $4 million. But those of us in the theaters who did come to see it that opening weekend, there was laughs filled all around. So is Saturday Night Live, or no, not Saturday Night Live, is Saturday Night ChickFlicks approved? You damn right it is. I love it. I'm giving it 4 out of 5 stars. And yeah, guys, I don't know how much more I can gush over this film. Let's just get into my outro. All right, guys, you already know the spiel if this is not your first time listening or watching ChickFlicks, but in case you're a newbie, my socials will be up here in the screen or linked down in the description. I'm on everything: X, Instagram, YouTube. I have my own blog, Simply Alexis. Subscribe, okay? TikTok. So if you want to follow and keep up with me, click my link tree. I have all my socials listed there. I have all like my content that I do there, easy for you to click on. Wherever you're listening and enjoying ChickFlicks on, whatever platform, whether it's Spotify, okay, SoundCloud, you're on YouTube watching on my channel or FAU TVs because I am an official show for them. Make sure you leave a like, you subscribe, you leave a comment, you repost, you do whatever because you love me and you want my show to reach more people so they can enjoy the magic of ChickFlicks. Okay? And while you're here, if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and click another video. You're already procrastinating your homework. Might as well, you know, have me playing. Maybe I'll motivate you to get work done. Nobody wants to work anymore. Kidding. But yeah, guys, I've enjoyed this episode. I've enjoyed talking to you. Keep up with me. You guys know I love you. And yeah, guys, this is Alexis signing off at ChickFlicks. You guys have a good one. Bye.